So we are about to begin the meeting. We will be conducting tonight's meeting in person as well as in virtual settings using Zoom. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting tonight on Wave Channel 18 and online through the city's YouTube channel. If you would like to participate in live public comment via the Zoom platform, please refer to the agenda for instructions. City Attorney Christine Mollenkopf will begin the meeting momentarily.
All right, well, in the absence of a chair, my name is Christine Mollenkopf. I'm the city attorney, so I will chair the meeting until we have elected our chair and vice chair, who can then take over the meeting for staff. So I'm calling the meeting to order. I call this meeting of the February 15, 2023 City of Lincoln Regular Planning Commission meeting to order. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Eklund,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Here.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Here.
Commissioner Eric Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Jerry Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Reedy,
Here.
and Commissioner McKinney has notified us that she will not be here today.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. So the next item of business, item number 3 on our agenda is the election of chair and vice chair. So we will start with the election of chair. I will turn this over to our commission for any motions to nominate a chair. And I see Commissioner Hutchinson, yes.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Peter Gilbert for Chair of the Planning Commission.
And is there a second?
I second the nomination for Peter Gilbert to be chair.
I'm gonna say Whitney probably beat you by just a fraction of a hair there, Jerry. Okay. All right, Whitney with a second. Are there any other nominations for chair?
Would nominations be closed?
Okay, with that, with the nominations closed for chair, let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Eklund,
Yes.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Eric Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jerry Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Reedy.
Yes.
All right, and with that, we will open the nominations for vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? Yes, Commissioner Gilbert.
I'd like to nominate for vice chair my colleague sitting next to me, who has been a member of our commission for quite some time. And I believe will make an excellent chairman in the future.
Very good. We have a second.
I'll get it this time.
All right. Commissioner Johnson with the second. Very good. The motion is on the floor. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Is there a motion then to close the nominations?
I'm assuming.
All right. Then we will call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Uckland,
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Eric Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jerry Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Reedy,
Yes.
and Chair Gilbert.
Yes.
Well, with that, congratulations to Commissioner Gilbert and as our chair and to Vice Chair Commissioner Hutchinson. I will then turn the meeting over to Chair Gilbert. The next item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would be very honored to lead that unless you've selected someone else.
Would be my honor.
Please join me with your hand over your heart and pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item of business is item number 5, agenda modifications. Do we have any modifications to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to item 6. Item 6 is citizens addressing the commission. This is the time when any citizen can address the commission on any item that is not on our agenda. We'll look for your comments on agenda items when we get to that particular item. And so if you're would like to speak, and by the way, in the back of the room, there are speaker cards, and we and the staff would appreciate very much if you take it upon yourself to fill out a speaker card, turn it into the staff, and that way we can keep ourselves very well organized. So again, I'll invite anybody who would like to speak to us on a non-agenda item to approach the podium.
Chair Gilbert, I did not receive any comment cards before the meeting, and I do not see any hands raised on Zoom.
Very good. We'll assume then that everybody's had the opportunity. And so we'll now move to item number 7, discussion of ex parte communication. I'm going to ask our city attorney, Christine, would you please explain for my edification as well as the other commissioners exactly what that is, because we do have some new commissioners here this evening.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure. Thank you, Commission Chairman. So ex parte communications are communications that occur between you and, for example, applicants or developers that they want to come and talk to you about the progress of what they're trying to advance before this commission. And so this is just an opportunity for you to disclose to the rest of the commission and to the rest of the public for transparency purposes that you have had private communications with these individuals or parties. Generally speaking, we've had trainings about not making a decision before coming before this body and discussing these items as a collective, but it is an opportunity for you to share with your fellow commissioners with whom you've been having conversations.
Thank you. With that in mind, I'll be the first to indicate I did have a social contact with Tony Frage. We didn't discuss any particular business. It was mostly a social contact, but I did want to share that. Is there anyone else that would like to comment about contacts?
I did have a social lunch with Tony Frazier and did not discuss business.
Jerry?
I had a conversation with Daniel Alcantaro, the owner and operator of the Bunarati Restaurante, relative to some concerns that he had about parking. And I'm sure we'll be covering that issue later. And a conversation with Mark Edmonds, a retired Sherman-Williams executive, about the appropriate coding of shipping containers. Also something I will suspect we'll get to later.
Please.
Yeah, I just had email communications with Tony Frazier.
All righty. Thank you very much. Before we go any further, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge and welcome our three new commissioners. Whitney Eklund on my right, Jerry Johnson. We now have two Johnsons, so we'll have to be careful when we recognize each other. Yeah, and John Reedy on the end. And so welcome to all of you, and looking forward to working closely with you during the next year and maybe longer in helping the development here in our great city of Lincoln. With that in mind, I think we move on to item number 8, the consent. Staff, anything that you need to report to us on the consent calendar?
The only item on there is to review and approve the meeting minutes of November 16.
Okay, everybody's had a chance to review the agenda and those minutes. The chair will entertain a motion if you so desire.
So moved.
And second.
We have a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Commissioner Johnson made the first one and Commissioner Johnson made the second.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now, I wonder if we should start, get off of ceremony and start calling you by your first name.
So, yeah,
That would make it a little easier for the staff.
all right.
And as long as you know, we're not in any way insulting your family name. So,
Would that be okay?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
they've
fine
agreed
with
to
me.
that.
Awesome, I
Both of them
appreciate that.
acknowledged. So we have a motion and a second. Any comment from the public? No comment. Chair will call a question. Do we have to do these by roll call, or can we do it by consent?
You can do it by collective vote.
Okay, all commissioners in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0-0. 1. We have one absent. Okay. We can now go on to public hearings. Item number 9. Does staff want to read the abstract in our agenda, or would you like me to introduce the item to the public?
I think the staff can just give the staff report.
Great. So we'll then turn the meeting over to the staff. We'd like to get your staff report, please.
Check. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Efren Sanchez, Senior Planner with Community Development Department. The project we have before you is known as Lincoln Gardens, a conditional use permit for alcohol sales, PCN determination, and design review application for a 3,000 square foot outdoor dining establishment, which will feature local food, beer, and wine. The project submitted by Michael and Jerry Fisher would help renovate a portion of the existing Lincoln Brand Feeds building that is in need of repair. Currently, the project site contains a brick wall at the front facade, side walls, and utility shed, but does not include a rear walls or a roof. Location. The project site is located at 400 and 412 Lincoln Boulevard in downtown Lincoln on the northwest corner of Lincoln Boulevard and McBean Park Drive. The property has a general plan designation of community commercial. The project site is zoned commercial surrounded by other commercially zoned properties and is located in District 1 of the city's downtown urban design plan, which represents a historic downtown core. The main entrance and frontage of the project would be off of Lincoln Boulevard with paid parking spaces in the side and rear of the building footprint. The project site is the same location that historically contained 2 large silos that were accessory to the feed store. However, the silos are no longer exist on the site. The commercial zone allows for restaurant uses. However, alcohol sales require issuance of a conditional use permit. So as you can see here, here's the project site, and this is the zoning map that shows where the location is. Site plan. The applicant is proposing to include retrofitted shipping containers to serve as a beer tap area, wine bar area, kitchen, storage, walk-in refrigerator, customer seating, and fire pit, all within the 3,000 square foot outdoor dining area. The City of Lincoln zoning ordinance chapter 18.44, parking and loading areas requires 1 parking space for each 5 seats and an additional parking space for every 2 employees. With a seating capacity of 56 seats, the minimum parking requirement equates to 11 customer parking spaces and 1 employee parking space. The parking requirement would be met given that there are currently 18 off-street parking spaces located in the side and the back of the project site. Design review. The proposed project is consistent with the city's downtown urban design plan. The applicant is proposing to rehabilitate the Lincoln Bransfield building while still maintaining its original character. The front facade improvements include existing brick walls, new tubular steel security fence mounted on top of the lower portions of the brick walls, and new tubular steel gate. The proposed colors for the project are subtle and will stay within the color palette of the downtown area and will complement the architectural aesthetic of the downtown area, as the muddled, distressed, wheat brown colored brick will remain as a primary design feature. The proposed colors for the shipping container will be Sherwin-Williams, Urbane, Bronze, and Shamrock for the fence and gate. The design review board reviewed the project on July 27, 2022. The DRB generally noted that the elevations, materials, and colors tie in nicely to the existing downtown. The design review board recommends the planning commission approve the project with the added condition number 17 and 18 regarding shade structures, canopy awnings, and to include plants and vegetation throughout the outdoor patio as the name Lincoln Garden suggests. Conditional use permit. The sale of alcohol beverages is allowed in commercial zones with the approval of a conditional use permit. If a CUP is approved, the applicant will use the CUP to satisfy the local clearance needed for ABC. Based on staff's research through ABC's database, there are 20 active alcohol licenses within a half-mile radius of the project site. Lincoln Garden is located 0.25 miles from the nearest church, 0.22 miles from the nearest park, and 0.33 miles from the nearest school. ABC will conduct thorough background checks and investigations. Public Safety Chief conducted a review of the records from January 2022 through current date and found no alcohol-related incidents on the property and has no concerns regarding the approval of a conditional use permit. The hours of operation will be noon to 9, 7 days a week. Findings. The proposed project meets the general plan policies related to revitalizing of the downtown, is consistent with the design guidelines outlined in the downtown urban design plan, and meets the criteria outlined in Lincoln Municipal Code involving development standards. Which leads to our recommendation. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, consider the information contained in the staff report, as well as public comments, and take the following action. Determine that the project is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, under section 15332, infill development, and adopt resolution number 2023-01, approving the conditional use permit for alcohol sales and determination of public convenience or necessity design review application for Lincoln Gardens with project-specific and typical conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation, and if the Planning Commission has any questions for staff, I'm available. And also the project applicant is here in the audience and can answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to share with my commissioners, so on an item like this, if any of you have a question based on what was just reported, please feel free and we'll recognize you. After that, we will open the public hearing. We'll take any public testimony. We'll then close the public hearing, and then commission will make a decision as to what action we wish to take. So that's the procedure we generally will handle. Anything to add? I always ask the attorney to make sure I didn't miss something.
That is spot on, Chairman.
You taught me well. So Jerry, please.
I have a few questions of staff. Did you get any feedback from your notices from the Foundry Youth Center, which is directly next door to the planned project?
I did not receive any email correspondence on this project, so I can't say that I did.
Okay. There was some confusion, at least on my part, as I read the staff report, whether this was a 41 license or a 42 license.
By definition, it's on ABC's website, it defines, there's a differentiation between a license 41 and 42. I outlined it in the staff report, but essentially 41 is for restaurants, and alcohol of beer and wine are accessory to the restaurant type of thing. And then 42 is more of like, what I got from it is more like the alcohol sales is more of the primary use.
So this is the 41.
Yes, I believe so.
Right.
But I'll default to the applicant to go through that process of applying to ABC.
And this is probably a more appropriate question for Christian, I guess, but are there existing plans for adding additional parking to this area, the downtown, specific relative maybe to the Jensen property across the 3rd Street extension?
There's the parking and lieu fee fund, which has $2 million in it. I don't think there's any specific plans for that parcel right across from this project as of yet, but there's certainly available funds for parking to support uses downtown.
Is the,
Commissioner Johnson, the city was actually investigating that particular parcel for additional parking, but we've been since advised it has been sold. Or is in the process of being sold.
can you,
There is a parking lot, Efren, I don't know, in preparation for this meeting, we kind of went
Yeah.
through some of the parking.
If I can
Available,
share my
yeah.
screen.
It's on the west side of the tracks and has about, 36 spots in it.
Can the commissioner see my screen?
No, we can't.
Oh, no, okay. So there is a public parking lot owned by the city, and it's located right here. There's approximately 36 parking spots. And so it's a short walking distance to the actual project site. Oh. Sorry.
can you identify the two sites?
So the public parking spot or public parking lot is right here. There's approximately 36 parking stalls. And as you can see here, this number, if you were to walk from the project, it's approximately 891 feet away. So just going over to the sidewalk.
All right, so there's railroad track between the two, is that right?
Yeah, correct. So the safest path of travel would be going through the sidewalk and going through the railroad crossing area.
I probably should know this, but what is the, how does the in lieu parking fee work? How much is it per space?
It's approximately, I don't know the exact figure, but it's approximately 6,300. I think I might have outlined it in the conditions of approval.
But there is no requirement for an in lieu fee. Because you found sufficient parking
Correct.
on site.
Yes, that's. So yeah, so the project wouldn't be subject to additional in lieu fees.
All right, and is the applicant, I assume, is the owner of the property, who will be operating the establishment?
I'll default to the applicant to answer that question.
I don't blame you. Okay.
Actually, we don't identify an operator yet. I mean,
We are, right now, we're actually considering doing it ourselves. Right now, we're actually considering it doing ourselves and hiring a kind of like a person to come in and be a champion for the gardens. We're open to other options and maybe local people that want to kind of be involved who've come to us and talked about. But right now, the intention is that we will be hiring a manager to operate the day-to-day operations.
Is, as representatives of the owner, what is your timeline? What are you looking at? Is this going to be, I mean, when I look at cargo shipping containers, it strikes me as a kind of a temporary solution. And I find it attractive, but cargo containers have a useful life, and maybe that's not an appropriate permanent use. Are you looking for something more permanent down the road, or what is your long-term goal for that section of the property?
Well, we want to do what's best for the community. We own the LBF, the building itself. And so we're trying to actually, make it a better, more, fun place to come downtown. The Foundry and other places are in there right now. And we were intending on just primarily doing the garden area and always keeping it up and, up to code and in good shape and all that type of thing. There's, if the Foundry decided to move out, we're not writing off, maybe taking over that space. If they decide to move out, I mean, they were kind of thinking of that before, but they asked us to stay. And so we said, okay, I know they were looking for something else at the time, but not sure if they're still looking for something else, but if they do happen to vacate that, we might incorporate some interior at a later point in time, but we want it fully functional and operational as a gardens itself. Start with.
It looks like you're buying containers that have already been modified for their use.
sure. Introduce Michael and Cheryl Fisher. It's quite an established format. If you Google Fieldworks, they have more than 2 or 3, like a half a dozen. But they're quite, I would call permanent. I mean, they're quite substantial and like a building. I mean, they're.
Do you know if they were acquired from, or will be acquired from overseas? Were they constructed in China?
We've been shopping around. We haven't actually acquired it yet. Actually, we got in trouble trying to acquire it and about a year ago, and the contractor stole our money. My understanding of the industry is more shipments go one way rather than the other. So they fill it and go to America, and there's less gets shipped back to China. And so there's more containers, and then they're sold, the excess is sold off. I'm not an expert. So there are container.
My concern is that China has different environmental regulations than we do. And it's fairly common for Chinese manufactured containers to have lead paint
Okay.
uh,
That's a
on
very good
them.
point.
So,
Didn't ensure when we purchased them. I mean, we've actually gone to two places. The first one was something that's in Colorado, based in Colorado, and they do these containers and customize them specifically, and they're all based in Colorado. So that's where we got the initial design that's actually in the packet that you have. Then we decided, because it was on hold for so long and the prices were going up and down, that we would investigate other options also from the US. We have not purchased the containers yet or started customizing them yet, but taking what you've said into consideration and all the environmental issues associated with that, that would of course be looked at before we purchased and customized it. So it would meet all those requirements to code. In fact, that's what the place in Colorado was. That was their big selling point, was that they make sure it's to code. So we're intending on using a place like that.
all right, thank you. I'll reserve for later.
Sure. Just to share, I'll let you speak just a moment. To share, we can condition any use permit. For instance, if we made a decision, it would be important that those be painted a particular way. We could condition that, and then it would have to be, they'd have to meet the criteria that the city set up for them. So there will come a time later in this hearing where we'd like you to share any concerns you have where we might want to condition this particular use permit. In fact, that's one of the important reasons that we're reviewing it this evening, to give the public and the commission a chance to ask these important questions. Please, go ahead.
Sorry.
I was, I was just going to say that I have the pleasure of serving on the design review board. And so this project came before, I'm getting feedback, came before us in July, I believe, of 22. And we queried the applicants quite strictly about the project and the long-term goal that the city has had in the general plan of having the downtown become more walkable. And this project would lead towards a more walkable area. Think of it as a outdoor, I'm going to say, beer garden, sandwiches. It's not going to be extensive food. It's more of a, I'm going to say, deli, if my memory serves me correctly. And so young families, people can come in and as they walk to it and have a beverage and perhaps have a salad, I think we talked about, or a sandwich, that type of thing. And it's all open, although we did, we were very concerned about the landscaping and, you know, the umbrellas and this sort of thing, the overhangings because of the heat in the summertime. So I just wanted to add that from the design review board perspective. I think, Mel, I pretty well encapsulated that. Thank you.
And
Efrain
Chair,
Sanchez, sorry.
that's all right.
I wanted to point out something with the topic about like the shipping containers and being retrofitted. There's two conditions of approval, 7 and 8. 7 reads, the building permit application shall be required for any tenant improvement to the existing vacant commercial space. The project shall comply with the California codes and other applicable construction regulations adopted at the time the applicant of application for permit. Prior to approval of the building permit for the proposed project, the Placer County Environmental Health Services shall review the proposed tenant improvements, including payment of any fees. So those two conditions of approval are kind of, you know, they address that issue that was talked about.
And I just wanted to caution the commission about going too far down a rabbit hole with a conditional use permit. The city has per code adopted the International Building Code, the International Fire Code. I mean, anything that would apply to, the use of hazardous substances, lead paint, et cetera. That would be dealt with, be inspected by our professional building inspectors. So I really caution you to kind of focus on the use that they're looking at and not get a little too into the weeds here.
Would it be appropriate to make an opinion-based comment right now or after a public hearing?
I would suggest wait till after a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be asking each commissioner and give you the opportunity to comment after. This part of it is asking them questions that maybe weren't clear in the application before we open the public hearing. Jerry?
Eric, you want to take us
Oh, I'm
inside? I don't want to monopolize.
I
here.
saw his finger before yours.
No worries. One of the Johnsons will go. So I just want to clarify what we're voting on with this one, the resolution. So it's the conditional use permit for alcohol. And are we also voting on the design? So it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're voting on those. Since we are voting on design, I'm just curious, in the plan, it did show a stage in one of the corners on there. Is that, I guess that's the case. They'll have a stage, okay. And then just hours of operation until 9 PM. With the stage, I guess, would it shut down at 9 PM or? That, okay. Okay, no, I was just envisioning maybe like music. I mean, sounds like a nice atmosphere. Yeah, yeah, okay. So it wouldn't go after 9. All right, those are all the questions I have for now.
Something additional, Jerry?
Just a question to staff, or the applicant for that matter, but on one of the design diagrams, it shows, apparently shows 2 entrances. On another, it shows only 1. Is it 2 or 1? The entrance off from Lincoln Boulevard, I mean.
Existing site, if you go on, I mean, the front wall exists
Right,
and there's kind of 2 gaps.
right.
So we were thinking to do some sort of ornate gate, very similar to the gates that are already outside in other areas of the building. However, I haven't really thought of, I would think one would be locked and one open, but I don't know as it pertains to the permit. I don't know that we have an opinion. I mean, there's 2 pathways to entrance right now, and they would definitely be gates. I guess the question is, are they locked or not during operating hours?
It appears as though the traffic flow interior of the lot requires the 2 entrances, but I can understand why that would be an operating problem also. So I don't know.
I mean, my first thought is better if one is locked and only one, but whatever's better for the community and, controlling alcohol is a controlled substance, right? So whatever's better for that kind of ABC permit, I guess. I don't know.
That'll be regulated by their ABC permit.
And we could definitely do one as a main and the other as an emergency exit. Probably do it that way. Everyone goes in that way, but there's an emergency exit. Sorry, one would be an entrance, a regular entrance, and the other one could be an emergency exit in and out if need be.
And
I just,
Go ahead.
if I might just make a comment, let's make sure that we meet whatever criteria. I seem to remember when I was serving on a city council before I moved to Lincoln, that where the public is served, there has to be 2 ways out of the property.
they have a back entrance, back
Yeah,
exit too.
well, I'm just saying, I want staff to assure us that there's going to be 2 ways out. That's part of the fire code, if I remember correctly. I don't think it's changed, but anyway.
I don't want to prejudice anything by this question, but just curiosity, I suppose. If we wanted to have this as a temporary CUP for some specific duration, is that possible, or is it forever?
that might be appropriate for a potential condition of approval, but I think we're supportive, staff is supportive of this being a permanent or a CUP that runs with the land as it is now. Just to speak to the design part of that, there are examples in San Francisco where they have containers that have been up for 15 years at this point and on Octavia and Hayes Valley. And they still function just like brand new and look great. They're maintained. So they're not quite as transient as the container name would suggest. Yeah.
No.
Just to add on, sorry, Efren Sanchez. There's also a section in the zoning ordinance, section 18.54008, which allows the city ability to modify or revoke a conditional use permit according to that section.
I'm glad you brought that up with new commissioners. The city retains the right when they've issued permits with a conditional use permit and has in the past threatened to pull a permit where the owner has not in some way complied with the requirements, and that never goes away. We always have that right as a city because sometimes they'll agree to do something and then they deteriorate in the way they manage their property later, and it's not in the public interest to retain it. So we do have that power. Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing. Anybody from the public that would like to speak, please come to the podium and let us have you identify yourself. That's the staff. Oh, please.
Tony Frazier, and I want to start by congratulating the new commissioners on this. Looking forward to working with you. Also, I worked with Jerry a long time ago, so it's like back starting from ground zero again. Also, I'm not here to speak on this item. We reviewed it before, but it's really interesting concept. We've been thinking about downtown to be really active and alive, and hopefully this is one of the gaps that's being filled in. I always try to go to downtown areas like Folsom where they have activities throughout the night. So the only thing I see is that maybe working toward longer hours, because really envisioning downtown Lincoln to be a place where we can go and have date nights and stay later, instead of saying, oh, everything's shutting down by 9, now you're going to another destination. So if everybody coming downtown thinking about long-term, how can we make this downtown lively? We know that some want to go to bed early, but downtown is more the activity, especially on the weekend. So, but this is interesting. I'm looking forward to be able to visit and enjoy walking downtown. And like in Folsom, we have small spots that sometimes they don't fit in exactly, but they are unique, different opportunity as long blend in with the downtown. Looks like this is on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Is there anyone else in the meeting that would like to speak?
Good evening, Commissioners, Melanie, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. I love the design. It's very kind of Austin downtown. As I think about the parking situation currently there to get into the businesses in that building, it's quite challenging. You've got the main boulevard right there. You've got the tracks on the other side. We're talking about people sitting outside, enjoying a nice evening, enjoying beer and wine, and then walking around railroad tracks after consuming alcohol over to a parking lot. Seems maybe like there could be a better situation. Also, just in general, the aesthetic is lovely in the design, very modern. It's going up right next to one of our very historic buildings in Lincoln. And as we're thinking about outdoor sun mitigation, umbrellas, tarps, that sort of thing, that's right on our downtown Lincoln Boulevard. And I would maybe have some different suggestions to the aesthetic presentation of this right next up to our historical brick building right there. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here at the meeting?
Hi, my name's Tony Wood, and I actually had the pleasure of representing the Falcones on the sale. And actually, last time I was in this room was in regards to these parcels. And I had the pleasure of meeting the Fishers, and I've been working with them for the last several years to take that property that was 30% occupied and really tenant it with good, vibrant tenancy. And we're getting there. We're almost at 100%. And I think that based on how well they've managed Lincoln Brand Feeds and how respectful they have been of that beautiful historical building, that you can count on them to continue to bring more vibrancy to the downtown. And to answer your concern about the containers, because it is a new concept, but in the last several years, I'm a commercial real estate broker. And if you go to Reno, you'll see something called the Levy, which is an assortment of containers that are converted for the use of restaurant and bar service. You go to Las Vegas, there's a whole village. It's spectacular. And downtown Monterey, where we have a place, Fieldworks has a beautiful containers only. Their restrooms are in container. Their bar service is a container. It is a new concept of commercial real estate. It's a trend. But these containers are not something they take off as shipping and set it down on the ground and build it out. They are professionally built out to code with all the considerations that the state of California and the city would put on you for anything. So they are really beautiful when they're done and they're painted accordingly. And hopefully we don't have any of those sorts of concerns with the Chinese metals or anything else, because they don't have to come from China. They are, in some cases, manufactured from scratch. So it just depends. But I just can tell you that the design and what this brings to downtown, to the gateway to downtown, I think everyone will really be able to enjoy it. And I think you can grow with it. It creates a new opening for downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public here that would like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll ask staff, do we have anybody online?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. With that, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the Planning Commission. I'm going to make one comment about this. And I'm unfortunately going to have to disagree with the gentleman who just spoke. This concept has been around for a very, very long time. There was a very big, successful national prime rib operation that was in rail cars throughout the country. Prime rib kind of died out and their business died out, and they switched over and they went into a new kind of business. But I used to go once a month into a rail car and have some of the most delicious prime rib. We had several of them here in California. So the concept is not new. The concept is being reinvigorated, repurposed. And from that standpoint, I think we need to, as a city, to make sure that it meets all of our criteria we have in the various codes, but it's nothing new. So with that, I'd like to start on the far end with any comments, questions beyond what we've heard so far. Good. Jerry?
Getting back to this concern about the variance between the site improvement plan and the elevation drawing. I'd like to know what we're approving, if we're doing 2 gates, 1 gate, whether we're bricking in one entrance or not. I just feel uncomfortable approving something that is unclear. And I don't feel strongly one way or the other, but it seems that if you have 2, if you only have 1, then there has to be some at least minor change in the site improvement plan for interior circulation.
We could condition there just be 2 entrances per fire code, consistent with fire code. That might be the
Well,
easiest way.
it's not really the fire code, because you have the one in the back, which would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make that a condition.
Excuse me. Public needs to hear the comments and they are listening. You have to come to the microphone, please.
2 is completely fine. We actually wanted to maintain the cutouts that were already there in the original building. So those were the main cutouts from the original wall. But 2 is fine. I'm very happy with that. And I actually don't mind the 10 o'clock either, but we didn't want to disturb the neighbors.
So what I think I'm hearing is that the applicant is consenting to a condition in the CUP that there be 2 front entrances on Lincoln Boulevard. So to the extent the CUP needs to be modified to reflect that, we can do that.
No, that addresses my concern on that. And I think likewise, the discussion on the code that would otherwise cover the metal paint or the lead paint or other hazardous heavy metals would be addressed in the code. I think that was an appropriate response to that. So I'm pleased with the concept. I think it's important to have this kind of activity downtown. And I would certainly be open to having the hours of operation extended until 10 o'clock if that doesn't require additional noticing, which might delay the project. I don't know, but, or whether that would be required.
Mel Pavlidis, sorry.
Okay.
The hours of operation were proposed by the applicant. Our ordinance doesn't limit any hours other than, of course, bedtime hours, 10 o'clock and beyond. But certainly we can, by just updating with your input, we can make that change administratively and change that to 10 o'clock at the latest.
I don't want to speak for the board, but that would be something I would be in favor of. What was the other concern I had? Well, I can get back to that. Oh, on the duration of the CUP, I think, Peter, your comments were well directed, and having the ability to rescind a CUP certainly addresses my concern about a temporary use being extended beyond its useful life. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Let's see. So I too, like Mr. Frazee and Commissioner Johnson, the other Commissioner Johnson, I think it'd be great to see, open a little longer. And I'm just curious, how late are the restaurants and all that open there? I don't know if it's something that could match those. And I guess my question too is, do we have to give them a specific time, or is that something that they can work out? Or do we have to like come up with a set time?
There really isn't a set time. I mean, there's typical closing, of course, the bedtime hours, 10 o'clock. I'm not familiar with the downtown operation as far as how long they proceed beyond 10 o'clock. But it's more what was proposed of us, and of course your commission can then amend that to extend to 10 o'clock. But yeah, just to answer your question, I'm not sure what the hours of operation are beyond those times.
So I think for any of you who live in downtown Lincoln, we pretty much rolled up our sidewalks around 5 or 6 o'clock. So I think for those of us, we'd be pretty excited to have something open a little later. There is no set standard for hours of operation. I think for the most part, the businesses that are down there set their own hours. With respect to bar restaurants, they're of course constrained by the ABC and the 2 a.m. rule.
I might just comment, having been an investor in many retail businesses, I would be reluctant to offer more hours to people who are making an investment in a business because they have a lot of considerations they have to make in terms of investment, staffing, costs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so if they've proposed in their business plan, and then in terms of the application to the city, that these are the hours they want, I think we have to honor their requests And if it turns out that 6 months after they're open, there's such a great demand and people are telling them, I want you to stay open till 10, there's a process in place where they can change their hours. So rather than we dictate to them longer hours.
Okay.
Do you have
And-
anything else?
And the reverse is true as well. You can authorize them to remain open till 10, but as a business necessity, they may choose to stay open till 8 or 9.
Exactly.
It's just that that's the maximum hour.
Oh, I was just gonna follow up on two like logistical things. The reason for the gates is because your plans are in conflict. One page shows 2 gates and one shows 1. That's why he was asking. The attachment A or exhibit A has the business hour specified, so it's kind of a binding thing, it looks like, right?
Yeah, I would strike that.
Right, that's
You
what I
know,
was wondering
just
is.
Let
because
them
I-
operate per the ABC license and.
I wouldn't want to
restaurants.
force them one way or the other, but just if it's not something we feel strongly needs to be a condition of approval, we just strike 6 or some portion thereof.
Thank you. Well,
Oh, sorry.
oh, I thought you were finished.
No,
I beg your
that's
pardon.
fine. No, that's fine. That's
Please.
fine. No, that was one of the things I wanted to ask about. And then I too, like Melanie, had a little concern about the parking plan, kind of walking across the tracks over there, kind of relying on that. I'd hate for anybody to get in a position where they might be a
I
little.
just want to be really clear that as
Mhm.
it stands on site, they meet their parking requirement. So that was just a
Okay,
potential overflow. It's there. I do think it's something that, you know, if the safety of this tracks is there and exists, that we should avail ourselves of and let people know about to promote business downtown. But again, nothing to do with the decision.
okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
to overflow.
Okay, yeah, that was gonna be one of my follow-up questions is if that was one of the main considerations, but it sounds like it's fine without that. That's just another option that's available. And then along with Melanie too, just the aesthetics of shade. So I know we're incorporating some trees and not that I want to dictate like anything to them, but maybe just encourage like natural shade as much as possible. And it's going to take a while for trees to grow up, you know, around there. But you know, if that's an option to kind of, I know they want to have an attractive business front too. So just hopefully that'll be, you know, something to consider. But just want to say, I think this is a great idea. Like many, it's going to be good to have an option like that to walk around and enjoy the outdoor atmosphere and environment in downtown Lincoln. And I think that's something that Lincoln can use more of, you know, more commercial, you know, give people more reason to stay in Lincoln. And just wanted to share too, I know there's questions about the containers. Last year, my wife and I went to Belize and there was a place called the Truck Stop that was kind of like this, an outdoor area with a bunch of shipping containers and had food, you know, restaurants. And I was impressed too. I looked at them, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. These little shipping containers, they make them look permanent, you know, like a legit establishment. So, but it was a fun, you know, place to enjoy some food, you know, outdoors and entertainment. So I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Commissioner Eklund.
Well, I'd like to echo what my fellow commissioners, Jerry Johnson and Eric Johnson, and Chair Gilbert said about this being an asset to our community. I think that this is something that we've been lacking, and I'm really excited to have a place to go for a date night past 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I wouldn't suggest dictating your hours of operation and consideration for you as business owners and, you know, just starting out. But perhaps an option of having it go till 10 p.m. on just Friday and Saturday night. I would love that. And I love the design that was approved by the board. I think that it encompasses both modern and historic. So that's excellent. I love that. And I think it's great to increase the foot traffic downtown. So we'll have, you know, the other benefits will be for the other businesses will benefit from that as well if they have to walk a little bit, not be able to park right next door. I think that there's actually a benefit to people walking past other businesses. And it's good exercise. Walk off the calories you're drinking in beer and food. I would also agree with Commissioner Johnson about trees would be awesome. Not expected, but that would be great. Umbrellas are good too, and I've seen these and I think that they look tasteful. So yeah, that's everything that I had to say. So thank you.
I have a comment about hours. We have historically had a problem with the downtown. A lot of the businesses are owned by people who have another career, and they do not keep long hours. This business is going to encourage, they're going to attract people to the downtown area, and it's going to encourage the other businesses to maybe stay open longer hours. And when I've attended Downtown Lincoln Association meetings, that's been an ongoing challenge because some of the businesses need those longer hours. And there's some of them that, you know, the business they have is, I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but it's more of a game, a fun thing they're doing, and it's not their source of income. So they don't worry about the bottom line as much as the person next door who's starting, trying to support a family and a lifestyle. It's different. So it may have some influence on the rest of the downtown in a positive way. I'll end my comments there, and the chair will entertain a motion if one is offered.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a motion in the second. Do we want to do this by roll call, or do we want to do
Mr.
it by
Chairman,
vote?
I'd like to suggest a couple of amendments to that if I could.
Oh, please.
I'd like it to be specified that there will be two front entrances as shown on the site improvement plan in the existing openings. And that we delete the paragraph under section 1 dealing with hours of operation. And that was the extent of the amendments that I was going to see.
Would the person who made the motion in the second be willing to accept those changes?
John indicates that there's a paragraph 6 that also would need to be.
Would the motioner and the seconder be willing to accept those?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the staff is clear now on what our motion is. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, the chair will ask for a vote. Roll call or voice? Please.
Roll calling, just for clarity, this is to adopt resolution number 2023-01, approving the conditional use permit for the alcohol sales and determination of public convenience or necessity, PCN determination, design review application for Lincoln Gardens with project-specific and typical conditions of approval. As amended. Yes.
Thank you. That's why we have an attorney.
So roll call. Vice Chair Hutchison,
Yes.
Commissioner Eric Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Acklin,
Yes.
Commissioner Jerry Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Reedy,
Yes.
and Chair Gilbert.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0-1.
Could I just make a very brief comment? In other words, I'm still concerned about parking in this area, and I don't believe the proposed solution on the other side of the railroad tracks is a good long-term solution, although it's certainly better than nothing. When I had my conversation with Daniel at Bunarati's, he indicated that a large percentage of his clientele are mature adults that find it difficult to walk long distances to his establishment. And I don't think that's unique given our demographics. So I do hope that staff will continue to look for a long-term, longer-term solution to the shortage of parking downtown.
Thank you for your comments, Jerry. Okay, if there's nothing further, we'll go to item 9B, Buzz Oats Industrial Business. As for staff's comments.
Hello, Commissioners. Again, my name is Efren Sanchez, Senior Planner. The project we have before you is the Buzz Oats Industrial Building. The project is a design review application for 176,000 square foot warehouse building with associated on-site improvements such as depressed loading docks, paved parking spaces, and paved driveways. The project was submitted by Sheridan Evans and Buzz Oats Management Services. Currently, the 11.10 acre project site consists of previously disturbed land due to improvements associated with the west portion of the 18.33 acre property as a whole. The project is located at the south side of Venture Drive, approximately 550 feet east from the intersection with Aviation Boulevard. The project site is located within the Lincoln Air Center General Development Plan area. The Lincoln Air Center GDP approved in 1983 was prepared to guide the development of 640 acres, 1 square mile for its various land uses such as residential, commercial, industrial, and open space zones. The project site is generally bounded by industrial development to the north, east, south, and west. The property has a general plan land use designation of industrial plan development and is zoned limited use light industrial within the Lincoln Air Center General Development Plan. Uses permitted under this zone include small-scale manufacturing, fabrication, research and development, packaging, storage, and equipment repair. Site plan. As indicated in the site plan, access to the site would be off of Venture Drive at the northwest and northeast corners of the site. The proposed warehouse building is anticipated to have drive aisles that wrap around the building and would be served by 99 parking spaces. The single-story tilt-up concrete building would have an average height of 38.5 feet in height and would meet the required setbacks. Tenants for the warehouse building are still to be determined, but will be required to conform with the land uses allowed in the Lincoln Air Center GDP. Design review. The design review board reviewed the application on July 27, 2022. The DRB generally noted that the renderings look nice and blends in with the industrial area. The board members did not suggest any modifications to the overall design of the proposed project. The proposed project does include large dual pane storefront windows at the north, east, and west elevations, as these are the areas visible from Venture Drive. The color palette includes Sherwin-Williams paint extra white, Repose gray, Dorian gray, and Gauntlet gray. The proposed project will be connected via pedestrian walkways off of Venture Drive, incorporated extensive landscaping at the perimeter of the project, and incorporate design and materials similarly found to the existing industrial development in the area. The Design Review Board recommends that the Planning Commission approve the project. Findings: the proposed project complies with the city's general plan, zoning ordinance, and the Lincoln Air Center General Development Plan. The request was made in conformance with Chapter 18.32 Plan Development and 18.64 Design Review of the city's zoning ordinance. The proposed use is permitted on site with approved with approval of the design review application and is consistent with the Lincoln Air Center GDP. The analysis and the environmental conformity checklist prepared for the project demonstrates that there are no site-specific or peculiar impacts associated with the project beyond that what was previously analyzed in the Lincoln Air Center GDP, EIR, and subsequent EIR. Uniformly applied standards and policies will be applied to the project as conditions of approval. The proposed project is consistent with the land use designation and development intensities assigned to the project site by the Lincoln Air Center GDP. As such, the proposed project meets the criteria outlined in CEQA guidelines section 15183, projects that are consistent with the community plan, general plan, or zoning, and no subsequent environmental review is required. That leads to our recommendation. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing, consider the information contained in the staff report, as well as public comments, and take the following action. Determine that the project is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act under section 15183, and adopt resolution number 2023-02, approving the design review application for Buzz Oats Industrial Building project with project-specific and typical conditions of approval. So yeah, that concludes my presentation. If the Planning Commission has any questions for me or the applicants in the state and the audience and can answer those questions as well.
Thank you very much. Let's start, we'll start on this end. Any questions at this time?
No, not at this time.
Questions? Gary?
Yes. The project description map shows an orphan strip on the south east portion of the site. But the later in the, it's not titled, I don't think, but there's later a description that shows that there's been a property line adjustment eliminating that orphan, but I wondered if you could clarify that.
Yes, so the project does have the eastern driveway to Venture Drive is shared with the adjacent parcel. And so there's a reciprocal access easement that must be approved before the development. So the applicant that was one of the comments submitted. I mean, one of the conditions is imposed by engineering that the reciprocal parking easement has to be agreed upon and documented prior to the approval. And the project applicant can address that question as well.
Yes, Sheridan Evans with Buzz Oats Construction. I'm the development manager of this project here. So that strip that you're referring to on the northeast side of the project, we actually own that. We own both parcels.
Right, I recognize that.
And it's a simple process of getting a reciprocal access easement to allow the development of the shared drive.
Yeah, right. My only concern was that it not be a place where trash gathers and, it's ignored by one property. And I guess having it under single ownership reduces the likelihood of that happening, but that was my concern. And I think you've addressed it if you're making that kind of a property adjustment.
Correct. Thank you.
Could you tell us what the current vacancy rate is among the all of the Buzz Oats properties at the airport?
Our vacancy rate is very low. I believe we're about maybe 2%, 3%, something around that range.
Really? When I drive through there, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of activity. That's good.
Well, it's warehouse space, so you won't see the typical amount of cars that you would in, other places. And Jerry, I'm glad you asked that question because when I went on the council, we had close to 2 million square feet vacant out there. And I very happily kept asking staff, and yes, we have 100,000 square foot lease. Yes, we have an 80,000. And while I was on the council, at one point, I think became 100% leased, other than the fact that you have tenants moving in and out. So it's a different world today than when you were involved with the city.
I noticed that although this is called an industrial building, it seems pretty clear from the elevations that it's a warehouse. Is there no market for some more labor-intensive uses, perhaps related to aviation or some other unique asset that we have?
Actually, I believe one of our tenants, one of our active tenants is in the aviation industry up there. So that these are also spec buildings. So they're open to an assortment of different potential tenants.
Anything the city could do to help you and get more jobs up there as opposed to warehouse space?
Well, I would add that, we've been developing this air development center for over 25 years. And this is actually our last site that's vacant in that area that we're going to develop. So it's pretty much built out.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Anything additional?
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner Johnson. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any public that would like, that's here today, this evening, that would like to speak to this item? Pardon? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do we open?
Open the public hearing. Do we have any public that would like to speak to this agenda item?
Good evening again, Melanie here. I want to say, I think this is a great opportunity for Lincoln. If we don't jump on this, our good county is going to build a couple million square feet of industrial and warehouse space just around the corner. So I think this is a great opportunity for Lincoln, and I'd love to see it built out to its full potential here, whether we're housing emerging companies or warehouse space or whatever is the best fit for Lincoln. But I think if we can jump on this, it's a great opportunity.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this item? Anybody online?
There are no hands raised online.
The applicant have any other additional comments they'd like to share before we close the public hearing?
The only additional comment I have is I'd just like to thank Efren and Ramel for the hard work that they've done over this last year and some change, bringing us here. So thank you all, and thank you to the commissioners for hearing us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We like attaboys for our staff, so thank you. With that, we'll close the public hearing. I'm going to start the other end. If you have.
No, I just echo, sorry. No, I just echo what Melanie, right? Melanie just said, because I think that there's a lot in the pipeline up and down 65. So if we can get here, that's all the best.
I have no comments. So
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we determine that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and that we adopt resolution number 2023-02, approving the design review and applicate from including the application for Buzz Oats Industrial Building Project with a specific and typical conditions of approval attached.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Take a roll call, please.
I'm sorry, I missed 2 seconds. Thank you. Roll call will be Commissioner Jerry Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner John Reedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Uckman,
Yes.
Commissioner Eric Johnson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hutchinson,
Yes.
and Chair Gilbert.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0-1. That completes item 9. B. And we will move to item 9C, Ferrari Pavilion Commercial Tentative Parcel Map Time Extension. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dawn Becker. I'm an associate planner here at the City of Lincoln. The project that I am presenting to you this evening is an extension of time request for a tentative commercial parcel map known as Ferrari Pavilion. This is a vacant 12-acre piece of land, and hopefully we're having some difficulties here with our IT, so we're going to see if we were able to fix it. If not, if we could flip the slide, that would be fantastic. But let me see if I can. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So this project was originally heard back in 2018, 2019. It was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission in 2018 and approved by City Council in 2019. It is an undeveloped parcel that is being split into 9 commercial parcels coming up to be developed. In 2021, there was an extension of time request that was done by the applicant. At the time, it was cited that due to economic instability and such due to COVID, that they were having difficulties in getting tenants to come in and sign leases and such and to be able to move forward with their projects. So they had requested for us to approve an extension of time. The City Council was able to do so. They gave them a 2-year extension of time, which brought the map life to expire on January 8th of 2023. Oops, hold on a second here. The location of the parcel we're looking at is at the northeast corner or intersection of Ferrari Ranch Road and Lincoln Boulevard. It's that vacant piece that you see over there kind of by the Safeway Shopping Center. It's primarily surrounded by commercial and, as you can see, some residential developments. And then there is some open space there to the rear. As stated, it is 12 acres undeveloped. There are some site improvements that are along Ferrari Ranch Road itself. However, there are not any along Lincoln Boulevard at this time. They will be constructed along with the map as it proceeds. It does have a a general land use designation of community commercial. It's zoned as a commercial designation. And it's within the Sun City Lincoln Hills General Development Plan, which is governed by our 12 Bridges specific plan. When the applicant came to us recently to ask for this most recent extension of time, he did apply for the extension in December prior to the map expiring, citing similar issues, still some economic fallout from COVID and such. And now it sounds as if even though the project was having some financial difficulties, it's now under new ownership. They are in the process of negotiating several new leases with some exciting new tenants that will be coming eventually. And they are requesting a total of 4 years for the extension. This will give them the max amount under the current state law that they will be able to extend the commercial parcel map out to. And looking at the project, it was determined that it does comply with both our general plan policies, our subdivision and zoning development standards, as well as the Sun City Hills General Development Plan. It also qualifies for exemption under CEQA 15162. The site was analyzed for commercial development within the previous adopted subsequent EIR report for 12 Bridges. Clearinghouse 97022074. In looking at all the information and analyzing, staff recommends the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing to consider the information and findings in the staff report, as well as public comment and recommendation to the City Council to adopt a resolution to adopt a resolution so that it qualifies for exemption under SEQA 115.162 under Clearinghouse 97022074. We would ask that you also recommend approval to the City Council for the 4-year extension of time that is being requested for the map for further commercial development. To give you a little background, when this parcel map was originally approved, there was in addition a design review for the coming commercial development that's coming along with it, as well as a conditional use permit. Since that time, the design review and the use permit have both expired. However, they have currently been submitted for and are under review. The entitlements are under review by staff to bring before you, hopefully sooner than later, for the project. I do have the applicant, Tony Frazier, here with me. And the new ownership is under ARM Properties LLC. So if you have any questions for myself or the applicant, I'm here to answer whatever you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Questions starting down that end?
Applicant or staff, there's a multi-use trail that extends from 193 down to this property.
Yes.
It doesn't seem to be in this plan any extension of that trail, in spite of an opportunity to extend it along the ravine in such a way that it could then drop down and go under the bridge and have some connection to the trail on the other side of Lincoln Boulevard. That concerns me. Am I missing something?
There is not a proposal to continue the trail down below the bridge, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
Right. That's it.
All right. Yeah, just a couple clarifying questions. So as I understand, there's no changes to the site design?
No, to the parcel map itself, there have been no amendments or changes made. The conditions of approval that were originally approved with the project will stay in place. At this point, it's purely just extending it out for the remaining lifetime of the map so that the new owner can proceed and move forward with the design review and the conditional use permits that will be concurrent with it as well. He's very anxious to get the property up and going, and I think it'll be a great project for Lincoln.
Yeah, I agree. I like the project. Yeah, we need more commercial here in Lincoln, so it'll be good to see it built. Let's see. I just want to clarify. So in Mr. Frazier's email communication, I appreciate. I just wanted to confirm. So the intentions are, we're approving 4 extra years, but it sounds like wants to go like right now, right? Or soon. I guess I just want to.
I can defer to the applicant if you'd like, but that was my impression as well.
Yeah, if you don't mind just elaborating on that. And then also maybe something about tenants. I know it sounds like some of them changed over. But.
Good evening again, commissioners, and Tony Frazier is Frazier Design Group on behalf of the owner, Amar Sidhu, and I believe he might be also connecting from out of the area. He likes Lincoln, that's why he came and bought this property. And if I want to go a little bit back, we worked on this property when Lincoln Hills development happened, And actually, when we did the grading on that site was when we did Ferrari Ranch Road. So the portion of Ferrari Ranch Road was built on both sides to ultimate. So we have to modify the sidewalk a little bit. And so that was set up for development over 20 years ago. Sadly, many people came and gone. These are fees, and we tried different things. And finally, we had a good design. We worked with the prior staff, and really it was a couple of years to get where we are. And we end up with good tenants and moving forward. And then COVID hit, and they couldn't get their purchase to continue, so they fell out. So Mr. Amar Sidhu was able to negotiate the land deal and move forward. And we're working with new staff. Don, welcome on board. She's been great, and the rest of the planning staff. So we're here back again. The idea is that they want to move forward really right away. If we can have a miracle in the planning department, they could be going to construction hopefully this summer. And I think we're hoping for those miracles. We already submitted the final map. So that's already concurrent to this hearing. It's in review because again, as Don mentioned, the map and the prior design was still consistent. So we're able to submit the final map to start the process. It just based on other final map where we end up having to really have extension, even though the map being a review, we're doing this process to make sure that we don't lose our empowerment. As far as tenants, the majority of the tenants that were negotiated before are still the same tenants. We're hoping not to lose them because of the timing. So they want to move forward quickly. So that's why we have also the design review moving forward. We do have some changes to it, is that a couple buildings had to rotate and readjust. That's why we're back in front of the design review board, but also the timing has, the design application has expired. So hopefully we can continue moving that quickly so we can work through the improvement plans. Also, those were submitted a couple of years ago. So now we want to resurrect them to go back and hopefully finish those plans. The frontage along Lincoln Boulevard and Ferrari, no changes with whatever we're doing. So those plans will still hold and we can continue to finish. So he's eager to start. So also it's 4 years. And I think we asked for that because we heard last planning commission were saying, why don't you ask for the max? We don't want to come back again just in case another COVID-25 happen, but hopefully we don't need it. We want to see it built this year or started at least before the rain starts. Hopefully I answered those questions. And we worked hard with staff to mention too that make sure the design, to meet the existing, Lincoln Town Center, the commercial, all the design reviews that we had to match the prior, but also we kept in mind, this is close to downtown, even though we're far away, we don't have the big parking lot like you have in front of Safeway. So we transitioned to more building closer to Lincoln Boulevard. We're not saying this is a downtown area, but it's a step toward that, and hopefully the sidewalk will continue north. As far as the trail for biking, I know Jerry loves trails and bikes. We all like them. We've done a lot of trails in Lincoln. And the city owns or have an easement around the property. And also they have in between us and the creek, what used to be a facility treat odor for the sewer line that been relocated. So we're hopefully work with the city on enhancing that a little bit to clean it up. So you can have opportunity to have the trail for the sewer line and continue north. I know there's some limitation on cost and the bridge, and that's another issue, but the opportunity is not there. It is there to go around, and we cannot control. You have big easement actually that overlap on our property as well. So, and the trail could be following the sewer, which is a little bit higher than the floodplain, so you'll be okay. But I appreciate giving us the opportunity to be here, and hopefully we get yes, so we can move forward toward construction.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Tony.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing a little more about the trail, and I appreciate that question. I too like the trails. I think that's a big asset for Lincoln. So that's good to know that approving this doesn't squash that opportunity, but it is possible. So, that'd be nice to see if possible, but I know that's a different topic. Thanks.
Have any more questions? You have any questions?
I had a question or two.
The others get to go first. You got your chance.
But
We'll come
not
back
on
to
this-
you.
Not on this
We'll,
one.
we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Did you have any questions? I, there's Tony. Tony, I have a question for you. You said you anticipated shoveling the ground during the summer.
Yes.
How confident are you on that?
If we have to work hard with staff to get through the design review.
Give me a number between 10 being very confident.
I
and
think
one being
about 65 to 70%, I'm hopeful.
65, 70. Okay. You're a cockeyed optimist anyway, so I take you at.
I'm hoping it goes to 90.
Okay. Thank you. Jerry,
Thanks. Could you describe how you go about having a successful center without a major draw or a keystone tenant? I mean, you don't have a Safeway, you don't have a theater. How do you do it?
This theater started, I mean, we tried theater a long time ago, if you know, but we do have a grocery store in the center, big one.
Oh.
Grocery outlet. So we have tenants. The application right now doesn't include all these tenants, but when we come to design review, we have all the tenants on the building. So we have tenants for every building right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, and actually with this economy, that's one of the reasons they want to start early, because grocery outlet right now is the best economy for them. When the economy is soft, people go to higher grocery stores, they go grocery outlet next. So that's a good asset to Lincoln right now.
Okay. So you're looking at kind of a discount grocery store.
But they have a lease. It's been carried for 3-4 years. They've been with us since prior potential owner, and they did sign the lease on this building, and we have the design review package in front of the staff. And again, I'm representing the applicant. I'm not the owner or anything. Just for that.
anything else, Jerry?
No.
Tony, I'll just follow up on that. Do you have many of the tenants that were in the proposed package of a few years ago still interested? Because we have new commissioners who weren't involved at that time, and I think this would be very informational.
This is a little. So we will have still the grocery outlet. We have basically Starbucks. We still have the daycare. So most of the tenants that were there, we do have a gas station. So most of the tenants, there's only 2 different restaurants came in, but the rest are here.
Does that still include Goodwill? Was that one of them?
Yes,
Okay.
still there.
And commissioners, I
the-
just want to remind you, the issue before you is a map extension,
Right.
and that's it. Okay.
Anyone in the room want to make any comments during? Oh, wait, we'll open public hearing. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Alice White, and I do. My question is, because it's coming up and this project's been planned many a time, that map you put up shows my house right smack dab in the center at the end of Northfield Court. And so even though, like you say, you're not to who's coming in yet, I have a concern, and I'm hoping to find information whether they still plan a car wash for directly across from my home. I am concerned about that proposed tenant that was in the previous plan.
Well, as our city attorney indicated, we're not at that point.
Right.
That will come to us at a subsequent meeting.
Good.
And the tenant mix has changed once already. That's why I asked Tony the question.
Right.
And it may very well change again.
And it has changed
So
over
there will
the
be
years. I've done that much research, so on my card there, I just asked if I could get information on the development plan as
Sure.
it stands now. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity to have a sense of what's going on with the project because it directly impacts my home
Appreciate
and my
that very much.
neighborhood. So
Yes.
And
thank you
Ms.
for your
Ms. Wick,
time.
I would encourage you to talk to Mr. Frazier. I'm sure he can.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak to this agenda item?
Good evening again, commissioners. I would just want
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Melanie Borchard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. I would just want to caution you on the location of a gas station and what is sold in that gas station in relation to the location of the children's playground and the children's school daycare area right there. I'd also wonder about the monument designation that's on the site plan there and what that would be and what parameters you guys are requesting of the whoever's developing that monument there, because that is kind of a great entrance into our city. Little disappointed to hear about what companies or what businesses are going in there. I think that we could have some different stores such as Chick-fil-A, Dutch Brothers, Trader Joe's, a movie theater, all the businesses that are residents here in Lincoln. And as Lincoln grows, go to other towns to spend their money in. So I would be encouraged if we could maybe develop some other options for tenants in that space. That's right there at the entrance to our city.
Thank you. For your information, Dutch Brothers is going in right down the street from the shopping center. They would not open up a second store. It's close, so. And we have others that are coming in, which you talked about, but the nature of the center, as you heard it described, is focused on a certain part of the market. And I used to finance these people professionally, and you cannot build a center financially advantageous when you start putting in Nordstrom's and something the exact opposite of Nordstrom. So they look to get the right mix so that they get the same kind of people coming into all the tenants and they get the synergy of one person bringing others in. That's the way shopping centers are developed. So, okay. Excuse me, if anybody wishes to speak, I'd like you to come to the microphone. Because
Chair.
we have people listening into this and we can't deny them
Chair
the right
Gilbert,
to
in
hear the
response,
meeting.
I do agree that a certain mix of stores does attract a certain economic crowd, but I'd also just point out that just down the street from this development, there is a Walmart grocery center and across from that, another thrift store. So when you're looking at this plan, we have a grocery outlet, a thrift store, you drive past a greenery area, and then you're in downtown Lincoln where there's a Walmart and a thrift store right across the street.
Mhm. Thank you.
So, Chairman, I would just like to remind at least probably the two commissioners here, Eric Johnson and Michelle Hutchinson, who were here when this project went through its process pre-COVID. There was a significant amount of conversation around goodwill, whether it constituted a retail use or not. And this commission actually denied the permit based on that being a retail establishment. They appealed to the city council and it was overturned. So that is the status of that determination as far as we stand today. So just for the edification of the public as well.
Yeah, I should have said that I was one of the council people that voted to overturn the planning commission. Okay, we're going to, anybody online?
There is no hand raised online.
Boy, we struck out totally tonight. We'll close. Was there anybody else from the public that wished to speak? I'm sorry. We'll close the public hearing. I'm going to bring it back to the planning commission for your direction and choice, whoever would like to speak.
So just because that's my first time on this extension, can someone outline to me the criteria for an extension, the flexibility or lack thereof in granting an extension based on the code?
we have a lot of staff that can answer that,
Yes,
but
I
who
figured
would
they
like?
could, and I heard
who-
this conversation from last year, but
Who would like to
firsthand would be
step up? Are
helpful.
you going, please?
I'm gonna try. There was recently a Senate bill that was passed. It's Senate Bill 9. That happened a few months ago. And Christine, correct me if I was wrong. Was that signed in October, November-ish, I
Right around
believe?
that time.
And we have, and yeah, and we've since amended here, the city of Lincoln, we've adopted an ordinance to be in compliance with that Senate bill. So what this brings it to is that a map can have a total life of, right now under state law, I believe 6 years. So they've already been given a 2-year extension. Is it 6 or 8, Christine? I'm sorry. Is it? A total of 6, yes, okay, I was correct. And so they've already been given an extension, that they've already had their original 2 years. And now they are asking for 4 more to complete out the complete 6. Could this change over time? Yes. Right now, this minute state law says 6 years is what they are allotted. Like Tony has stated, their owner is eager to move forward with this project. No pressure on the design review, Tony, thank you. Which, like we have reminded, that is a separate entitlement that we will be hearing sooner than later. We are in the process of reviewing both the design review and the conditional use permit along with it for this project right now. So today it's just strictly the extension of time for the parcel map, creating the 9 parcels for the commercial use for the entitlement proposals that are coming down the road.
So Commissioner Reedy, I think to your, probably a little more directly to your point, this is a totally discretionary action by the commission. So they have had 2 years. Our code allows for another 4. You could offer 2, you could offer 3. It is completely discretionary. If you deny it outright, I'm pretty confident there will be an appeal to the city council. So just from that perspective, whatever rationale you give for not giving the entire requested amount just needs to be substantiated, not be arbitrary and capricious, kind of those traditional legal standards.
I'd like to add a comment to that, and that is if you deny it, then certainly the planning commission has the right to do that. There could be substantial financial impact on the property owner because they would basically have to start the process all over again. Notwithstanding the fact that the commission or the council or the staff can work with them if there's something that we don't like, we can change that. But if we cut them off, then they're back at point 0, really. So.
Yeah, I just say that I'm not looking to deny it necessarily.
No,
I just
I
wanted to
understand.
understand what the criteria is, because I think that there's some legitimate questions that have come up since 2018 to now about the parcel map.
Yep.
And the next phase is coming is not about that. So like things relating to the trail and related aren't on the table for that, right? Because the map's already set.
Correct.
So I guess what I would say is if they really are serious about doing it quick, I'd be fine with a shorter extension versus a longer one, because if they don't go into gear, then either move forward with this one that they want us to do, or it comes back and some of these issues that are now, before I said, are 4 or 5 years after this was originally presented, we may want to look at it a little differently and incorporate some of these things. So I'm not in favor of denying the request, but I would be open to shortening it.
So they take their tenant mix and they go visit with a dirty old man banker like me. And I look at it and I say, I don't like this. And it takes them a year. And now in other words, philosophically, if we're going to do it, we got to give them something to protect their interests in the investment they made so far. Notwithstanding the fact that we can change whatever we want as a city. So
Right.
as long as it's legal, ethical, and not capricious and all the other terms.
If I may add something else to the discussion here, the challenge for staff, even though the applicant comes in with a particular reason why they want to extend the map and a number associated with that. It's more of efficiency, right? Because if we do 4, assuming that they have a valid reason why they want to do it, which in this case they do, then they don't have to come back. And then that's just one shot, as long as they work towards getting the map recorded during the 2-4 years, whatever your commission, city council approves. From staff's point of view, if the map complies with the general plan, zoning complies and conforms to the standards, conditions of approval, it's really efficiency from our standpoint, and it's just getting it done. And also from their end, it's some predictability and some outlook that we have more time to work on getting the map approved. Of course, separate from that would be the entitlements for the design review. But from staff's point of view, it's more like, as long as we check out the box that they've complied, they have a reasonable reasons for extension. Everything else is pretty much efficiency from our standpoint, making sure that we get this done, we'll get it moving forward.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the?
Is it my turn?
Sure.
I have some very serious concerns about this. This site is the gateway to our downtown, and this is not a gateway project. What you are telling people is that what you're seeing is what you're going to get: a grocery discount store, a Goodwill, and maybe a couple of inexpensive restaurants. That's not who we are. It's not who we should be. The orientation of this project is inward. It fails to take advantage of the beautiful ravine behind it. It essentially blocks off the multi-use trail. What you see as you would drive by would be a sea of parking and a nondescript retail center without any theme or purpose. I think this was a marginal plan to begin with. It hasn't gotten any better with age. I will not vote for an extension.
Thank you.
I don't have any further comments or questions.
Michelle?
No.
I have no further comments. Okay. We close the public hearing, right? So now I'd like an action item from the Planning Commission. Is there a commissioner who'd like to offer one? I will. Staff is recommending that we conduct a public hearing, consider the information contained in the staff report and testimony of the public, and approve the resolution 2023-03, recommending the City Council adopt a resolution. 1, determine that no further California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, analysis is required pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15162, and 2, approve of a 4-year time extension of the Ferrari Pavilion commercial tentative parcel map. Chair will ask for a second. There being none, the motion will die. What would our appropriate action be?
Mr. Chairman, I'd offer a motion. I move that we do not approve an extension of this project.
That's not necessary. If the motion fails for want of a second, it's a dead motion.
I second.
Pardon?
I move to second.
All right, you have a motion and
We
a
have a motion
second.
and a second. Okay. Is there any discussion? And do all my planning commissioner colleagues understand the ramifications of this particular vote?
Yeah, I am voting to approve these resolutions that are before me. As Christine clarified, this has nothing to do with what's going in. That's going to be at a later date. So I just wanted to clarify that that's what I'm voting for.
That's what I was going to say as well, that this is not a vote to approve or disapprove a quick quack car wash or any of those things. It is strictly to say whether or not we're going to approve the extension of 4 years, if necessary, to get their planning together. And then they can come back at a later time where there may be conditions of approval for the different types of businesses at that time that may decide to go through. Are we?
Correct.
Okay,
To
all right.
reemphasize, as
Yes.
was pointed out during the staff report, the original CUP and design review entitlements have all expired. So
Yes.
this is the map strictly.
Yeah, strictly the map, yes. Want to make sure I understood it as well.
Unfortunately, we got into a discussion about tenants and that is not before us this evening at all. So, okay, with that motion and the second on the floor, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Chair Gilbert,
Yes,
Commissioner Eklund,
Yes.
Commissioner Eric Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jerry Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Reedy,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Hutchinson.
Yes.
motion passes 5-1-0. That completes all of our items for consideration tonight. Item number 10 is general business. Is there anything that any commissioner would like to bring up? I have one item that I'd like to share with you. I spoke with Mayor Joyner, and he has agreed with me that, and he has asked the city manager to provide each planning commissioner with the following: a business card, so that when you meet with anybody, you look a little more official than writing something down. And we will also be receiving badges, so that when you attend meetings, different places you go, people can quickly recognize that you're a planning commissioner and understand that we have special responsibilities. So I don't know when we'll be getting those, but they'll be coming in. Number 11, commissioner comments, start down the end. John. Jerry?
Just a quick one. I want to thank City Council for the opportunity to serve again.
Thank you.
I too would like to thank City Council for the opportunity to serve.
Vice Chair?
I would like to welcome our new commissioners to our meetings, to the fold, if you will. I would like to congratulate Chair Gilbert on taking this job. I would like to thank staff because I was impressed with the staff reports, the information that was provided to us. I thought it was thorough and very, very helpful. And so I want to say thank you for that. And that's it.
Thank you. And I don't have any comments. Next is informational items from staff. Is there anything from staff that you'd like to share with us this evening?
Yeah, over here, Mount Pavilinas. Just want to kind of revisit our invites to all you commission. I know we've met with a few of you this past couple of weeks, kind of one-on-one between myself and Christian, kind of meet and greet. So we'd like to keep on doing that. So that's still out there for you to accommodate if you want. Also, I've sent out emails regarding upcoming planning commission academies. I think there's 3 now, but I think I've only sent 2 so far, but I'll send the other one out. And if any of your commissioners would like to take advantage of that, let us know, and then we'll facilitate and coordinate the trips to those places where we choose to go.
Good. Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you. Please.
I'm sorry, in my encroaching senility, I don't always remember what I really wanted to say as well. Last week, some of us attended a informational session that our city attorney put on a refresher of the Brown Act. And I wanted to thank you personally. Although I've been exposed to the Brown Act for many years now, it's always great to have a refresher, and you did it very, very well. And so thank you.
You've also had to live under the Sterling Act
Yes.
in another capacity, which is very similar. So you're an expert. Is there anything else before we adjourn? Staff, anything additional? With that, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody. And onward and upward.